Welcome to Senior Beat. Today we're going to talk about retirement in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, and taxation points for you to note. With me today is H&R Block Enrolled Agent and Master Tax Advisor, Lacey Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about some of the bigger points of retirement, 50s, 60s, 70s. Where would you like to start with that?
With the 50s, it's when you start planning retirement more. It's too early to begin withdrawing Social Security income.
Yeah.
If you start taking money out of your 401ks, your traditional IRAs, they may have a 10% penalty unless you meet an exception.
Okay.
So it's important at this time to know what you have available to you so you know what income you're going to have and wait as long as you can to withdraw.
And you can still make changes?
Yes, you can still add into it
Okay.
at this point.
Okay, and 60s. What are we looking at for the 60s retirement?
For the 60s, that's our baby boomers, and they don't have to worry about that 10% penalty anymore.
Okay.
So it makes it a little easier for them, but still, sometimes it's too early to withdraw your Social Security. Social Security, depending on the year you were born, is when you can withdraw the full amount. So you have to be careful if you're still working and withdrawing Social Security because you would get less per month.
Correct. And we want people to reach it so that they can get the full amount for.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a penalization, but you want the most out of it.
You want to get the most, so you have the most per month. So wait as long as you can on the Social Security to withdraw that.
Okay, that's a good thing to note. And then, so how about the 70s?
The 70s are a little easier because by then you've got your full amount withdrawing for the Social Security, as well as your retirement still has no penalties for you. But it's just making sure you plan well so you have enough at that point to help you survive through that.
Which is important because people are living so much longer than when Social Security obviously was first started. So it's such a huge thing, and it's a huge topic. I know at the Groton Senior Center, it's a big topic.
Yes.
That what will I have accumulated for myself? So thanks for explaining that. Let's go on to taxation and some of the little notes, or I guess kind of quick bites that we can tell people about to kind of keep them best prepared. For the first one, I know identity theft, but identity tax theft is a big thing.
Yes, definitely. The IRS doesn't call you, it's a scam. A lot of people get these calls and they're very terrifying that they think that the police are going to knock at their door or something like that. But it's a scam. The IRS wouldn't call you.
Right,
and then
never.
Never would they call you.
Okay. And
be very careful giving out your personal information because you wouldn't want them to file tax returns under your name.
Correct. Now, if the IRS has contacted you and you need to make calls, would they be asking you for your information?
The IRS wouldn't call you, so if they're asking you, you would have called them at their number.
Okay.
So then it would be okay to give it to them.
Okay. So what are other ways to protect yourself in such a case?
Keep track of your information. Make sure you're protecting your information online and at home. Your documents, making sure you're not throwing them in the trash, making sure you're shredding them and being very careful online as well.
I know for just for us, we do let people know when there's shredding days at local banks. Sometimes with the library will even have it. So we try to let people know about that. But keeping your documents aside for shredding is something we recommend because we don't want that out there. Also, not sharing your information.
Yes, because all they need is your name, date of birth, and Social Security number.
That's it?
That's all they need.
Okay. So that kind of plays into, we had the police come over and talk to us and said, don't tell people over the phone these things. If they're calling and going, I'm here to help you with your Microsoft, I just need these things from you. They would never need that.
No, they already have it on file.
Right. So, okay. What about other tax identity things that we can talk about here? I know you said IRS never ever calls. How about when you're doing your taxes? Is there anything you have to be careful of then?
When you prepare your taxes, you want to make sure you're using, like, if you're using a person that's secure, a company that secures their documents.
Okay.
If you're mailing them in, making sure you're mailing them to the IRS address on the return.
Okay.
It's important when you're interviewing somebody to do your taxes that you get somebody who's going to keep your information secure.
Now, I know you are a master, so can you explain to me your certification?
My certification with the IRS, I took additional tests with the IRS where there were 3 tests I had to take, 3 hours each.
Okay.
And then I could be an enrolled agent to help people. So like for audits, I could go in person and help, or help them like call the IRS for them so they don't have to wait on the phone for hours.
So asking somebody if they're an enrolled agent is a very good question.
It is a very good question because you know they took it up to the next level for security and just tax knowledge in general.
Okay. And so with a certification such as that, what are you kind of liable for on your end? What, like, as far as you being that agent towards the general public?
Liable to make sure things are done accurate and complete at
Okay.
all times.
Okay.
So never to file anything wrong and making sure to inform the taxpayers and that they have copies of their records.
Perfect. Okay, great. And I know you guys do a lot of work, and bless you, because it's very confusing. There's a lot of stuff in there that's overwhelming for somebody when they have to do their taxes. How about the online stuff? Is that safe?
With online taxes, I recommend making sure you go to somewhere secure. Make sure,
Okay.
you know, like H&Rblock.com, they have secure uploading and your stuff is safe online.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to just pick any company online because
Right.
you don't know if it's secure or even a real company. There's so
Correct.
many fake companies
Yeah.
online.
Okay. With that said, I know that we've talked about the taxation prepping of it. What if you don't have all your documents?
I would try to get your originals if you can.
Okay.
What I always recommend to start with is calling those people, like if it's retirement, call your retirement company, or if it's a job, get a hold of that company.
Okay.
The originals are the best, or a copy of them from the companies.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, you get it from the IRS, you can call the IRS or go online and get a transcript.
Okay. I do have a silly question, but I know it's one that comes up a lot, at least at the senior center. Right? Why don't they have the hard copy books out anymore for people to just come and take places? I know it's rare to find them.
Yes, the IRS is saving on paper as well. They're
Okay.
encouraging more of that electronic file,
Right.
just because it's safer too. It's less hands that it's going through,
Yeah.
less likely to have your identity stolen. And it goes straight from like the electronic softwares to them to be processed faster.
I like that. And you're saving a tree or 2 or 3. Okay, so audits. What can we talk about audits, preventive situations with that?
For our tax audits, you know, preventing them, the first thing I would recommend is always do your return accurate and complete.
Okay.
Make sure you have all your documents, file everything together. You don't want to amend it later just because you didn't have the document yet.
Right.
Wait until you have everything to file.
Okay.
And never put anything on that you don't have proof for, like for charities or anything like
Okay.
that.
What's the charity level at this point?
The deductions for itemizing,
Yeah.
you would have like your single would be 12,000, your head of household's 18,000, and married is 24,000 this year. They've increased those,
Right.
so your charities, along with other things, have to be more than that to take advantage this
Right.
year.
And there are quite a few changes. Now, how often do these changes usually happen? Is it year to year? Is it every so often?
Every year they change something,
Right.
so we just keep up on that all
Okay.
year long.
Another good reason to find somebody who is certified, who's on top of their game with this.
Definitely.
Okay. So what should you do if you're contacted by the IRS regarding an audit?
Bring in the letter right away to somebody to look at. Many times the IRS letters are not correct, so you would always want somebody to look over it with you.
Okay.
They do the audits in worst case scenario and don't put all the deductions in, so you always want somebody to look over that letter.
Okay.
And if it's somebody on the phone, the IRS wouldn't call, so it
Again,
would still
yeah.
be better to come in office and maybe have somebody help you call the IRS to verify that you're good.
Okay. So always double check.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Okay. I know you guys do this for business, but how about people doing taxes on their own? Should they? What's your recommendation?
If you're doing it on your own, I would at least recommend to do, like H&R Block does, free second looks. Have a professional look over and make sure it's 100% accurate and complete,
Okay.
just so you have no surprises show up later. Audits are usually 2 years behind, so by the time you get the audit letter, it's really hard to find all those receipts and documents because
Right.
it's been 2 years. So a lot of people have shredded it by then.
Okay. So, well, that kind of brings up my next question. How long do you keep, like for myself, I have kept my tax records for quite a while. How long do you keep those?
I would recommend at least 4 years.
Okay.
Current year and then the 3 years back.
Yep.
And then if you ever are going to have a business or you had a business and you want to keep them forever, because the statute of limitations on a business return, there
Okay.
is no limit. They can look back as far as they want.
Well, that's crazy. What are some common mistakes taxpayers make when filing their taxes?
Common mistakes that we've seen is not reporting all their income. So retirement people, sometimes
Right.
they only report the documents they receive in the mail, like just the 1099s they
right.
got, or sometimes they forget to report Social Security.
Okay.
A lot of people forget to do the documents if they don't actually get it in the mail. So just knowing what income you received through the year
Right.
and making sure you report all of it.
Okay, now, how about, I know we have some people in our place that have gone through divorce and stuff, and there's maybe, annulment and whatnot. Where does that play into it? Is that a taxable?
With an annulment, that says like you were never married, so
so-
you're supposed to go back and amend your taxes as if you were single those years you filed married.
Okay, and alimony, how does that?
Alimony's kind of tricky, so
Okay.
if you got it in your court orders before December 31st, then the person receiving it, it's taxable, and the person paying it, it's a deduction.
Okay.
But if your order was changed after that, or you received it brand new after that, then it's no longer on the return at all. You can't
Okay.
deduct it, or you don't have to claim it as income.
What are examples of surprise things that people don't realize should be on there, that they should be using on their taxes, that they're not?
Some of the surprise things that people don't put on is like health insurance if they had it through Access Health, as well as college or student loans they're paying back.
Okay.
Or like just dependents are claiming they don't realize they can claim somebody who they're supporting through the year.
And is that up until a certain age, or is that?
There's different qualifications, so
Okay.
some of them you have to have a certain age, and then other ones there is no age limit as long as they make under a certain threshold of money.
Okay, that's fantastic to know that. What if you've already filed your taxes and then you realize you've made this mistake?
You would want to amend it. I recommend amend it as soon as possible because if it has a balance due, you would like to amend it before the due date of the return,
Okay.
just so you don't get any penalties in case you owe money back.
Okay, good to know. How about the tax reform? Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yes.
You look so happy. How is that impacting people?
The tax reform has impacted everybody across the board. People with children, the tax credits have doubled, but they've taken away some exemptions, so it kind of offsets each other.
Okay.
It's really impacted the high tax states because now there's a limit of $10,000 on tax.
Okay.
And it's just impacted across the board, homeowners,
And
businesses.
where do we fall into that? Where's Connecticut?
Connecticut is 100% a tax high state, definitely.
I knew it. Okay, so who will be the most impacted by this? That threshold up there?
Everybody's impacted this year. Some people negative, some people positive. We have a lot of tax surprise this year just because of just different withholdings on the paychecks.
Right, and that's something that I know personally, I know people who that has impacted. People were very surprised when they got their W-2s back, like, oh wow, what's this? So what can people do to alter that for this year?
This year, you just want to make sure you get all the credits and deductions you legally are allowed to get to maximize that way.
Okay.
And then also something that H&R Block does is tax planning. So if it's not your ideal bottom line, we
Right.
help you get there. Everybody has
Moving
different
forward.
ones moving forward. So some people want that perfect zero
Right.
to a little balance due to a big refund. So we're planning this year.
Right, okay. So that definitely impacts their refunds, but how can they, I know you just said that's the federal tax.
For the
How about the state? anything changed with the state taxes?
The state didn't have any major changes for the seniors this
Okay.
year.
That's
Most of
great.
it's pretty much the same.
That's good news. Okay. Back to the audits. What tips or advice do you have for anybody who, when you first find out you have an audit, I'm sure there's a panic that happens.
Definitely.
You get your mail, it's after hours, you're like,
I think no matter why you get an IRS letter or an audit letter, it makes you
That's
panic
true.
as soon as you see it. But make sure you bring it in to somebody to look over.
Right.
H&R Block has that audit support because they can read through it to see exactly what they're wanting. Sometimes it's just like a document verification and you just need to fax in a copy of the W-2s.
Oh, okay.
So just make sure you
Sometimes
deal with it
it's-
right away.
okay. So don't panic. Bring it to somebody who you know knows.
Taxation
yeah.
to help you out with it.
Okay, perfect. One thing I wanted to know, because you guys have been such great supporters, is H&R Block has been supportive of events that we do at the Senior Center, which is why we have you on the show today. But you guys were sponsors for us last year for our Super Bowl event and this year, so thank you for that. That was
Definitely.
huge.
We
Thank you.
enjoy. We were into the community, trying to put back into our community.
Yeah, it's awesome. So sometimes if you're at one of our events, you might see H&R Block there with a table. That is why, because they've been strong supporters of our events and enabling us to bring these programs to the seniors at Groton Senior Center, which is anyone 55 and older. I can't think of anything else right now, Lacey. What else would you like to talk about?
Accuracy on the returns.
There you go.
Just making sure every year when you file your return, it's accurate. Sometimes you'll go to different places and they'll offer you a bigger refund. But if it's not accurate, you don't want to file there. Always making sure you do everything complete and accurate.
Okay, what happens in that scenario if you went for that bigger refund and it wasn't accurate? What happens then?
The IRS would audit you eventually, and then you would have to pay back anything if it wasn't something you should have had on the return.
And then there's
And
interest
then
on that.
you could have interest and penalties on that, and sometimes the companies get in trouble, but it's not enough.
usually on the
Just
individual.
protecting yourself, making sure your return looks right.
Right, okay. That's kind of scary. Because I know
Definitely.
I hear those commercials all the time from everyone. We can give you the bigger refund. Come in and see us.
So definitely make sure, the IRS even has on their website where you can verify that it's a preparer.
Oh, that's wonderful. So on the IRS website, you can go on and see if they're, quote unquote, a legit preparer.
Paid tax preparer, yes.
Okay. Prepared? Say
Paid
that again?
tax preparer.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't know why I'm bumbling. Okay, wonderful. So all in all, we know that the IRS never ever calls us. So don't ever get scammed by that, because that is a big thing for those who watch this show is we don't want any more scams. There's so many. So IRS never calls. If you get a letter from the IRS, take it to somebody who is certified, who knows their stuff on taxation. Have them look over it with you. The same thing with audits. Try to have all your documentation together
Yes.
before you go in, so
Before
that you
you-
don't have to amend. And don't freak out if you get a letter.
Yeah, don't freak out. Just make sure you look over and have somebody help you deal with it.
Okay. Now my question is to you: when do you guys start getting crazy?
Our busy season's kind of in motion
yeah.
now, and
Is it
then
usually right after Christmas or right after New Year? When does it kick in?
it tends to be right at the end of January, beginning of February.
Okay. And then high going right up until April 15th?
Sometimes,
Yeah?
depending on where
A
your
little bit
location
after?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you very much. Really appreciate all the information. I think there's a lot of stuff out there. The retirement stuff we talked about, because being a senior, at least in Groton, starts at 55. So the information about the 50s, the 60s, and 70s was really helpful. For those of us in our 50s, start preparing so when we can retire. Those in your 60s, try to hold off until you can get the full Social Security benefit. In the 70s, you're getting the payoff.
You're getting the payoff at that point. Hopefully everything's been planned out, and file everything. when
File
you
everything. Okay. My one question though with all that is, what about the person who is retired, who is like, hey, I think I'm going to take a part-time job somewhere? What is the, I know I've heard, but what is the thing you need to watch out for? Like, earning too much, I think I heard.
When you retire early with Social Security, you have to make under a certain threshold.
Okay.
And that's just depending on your age and when
Okay.
you've retired.
So
But after
it's-
retirement age, you can make whatever you like.
Okay.
But your Social Security could be taxable depending on how much income you make in your filing status.
Oh, okay.
So just being aware that it could affect other things.
And is that by individual case?
Individual case. H&R Block does mid-season checkups. You could always come in and just have them check if you're working, just to make sure you're
Okay.
withholding the proper amount.
Okay. Because I know we have quite a few people across the way that will be like, hey, I got a part-time job at, I don't know, the local craft store, or the bookstore, or such and such. And then all of a sudden I see them a few months later and they're like, I had to quit. I was making too much money. And I'm like, what? Is that probably the case?
Yes.
It's affected their Social Security?
Yes.
Okay. Not that we don't want you working, because it'd be great. And then let's see, anything else? I know we have at Groton Senior Center the AARP tax preparers who come in. I know you guys do it, but like you said, the IRS website has where you can check to see if a preparer is legit.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Lacey, thank you so much. We just
you for
learned
having
so
me.
much information. Yeah, thank you. And thank you guys again for sponsoring our events over at Groton Senior Center.
Glad to help.
And if they need more information, they can reach you guys over at HR Block. And
Yes.
you're at which location?
The Groton location.
The Groton location. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in today.